Good afternoon, Professor Christine, Marjay, and fellow classmates.
I'll be presenting on the painting called Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore by COR2619, which I have selected as my final essay artifact. Before I dive into explaining what concepts I learned in class and how they are going to be applied into the painting artifact, let's get to know more about the painting and why did I choose Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore as my final essay artifact. Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore is a painting created by COR2619 in 1968, a year after the Land Acquisition Act introduced in 1967. It enables the government the ability to acquire private land for public use. The Land Acquisition Act allows for land to make available for housing, commercial and industrial projects for public agencies such as the HDB and URA. In this painting artifact, it depicts both farmer and a young boy as the main actors, conversing about daily life and perhaps about the farming and development of public housing in the foreground. On the farmer's left hand, he's clutching the vegetables, and on the other hand, he's pointing to the development for the young boy to see. His actions suggest his worry for the future, especially for his farming livelihood, which will be threatened by the incoming urbanization. Similarly, the painting titled Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore suggests that the farmer is telling the young boy about the reality to which he may or may not fully grasp what's happening. The loss of private land, home, farm to government, and paving way for urbanization would mean having a huge hole in the generational consciousness. A group of people who used to be mindful of their place in distinct group, identifiable by shared interest and value, would now have their own interpretation of the world based on personal encounters that would truly set them apart from each other's generations. In summary, the painting artifact by COR2619 is a way to convey the generation gap between the old and young generation, as well as to capture the growing rift and tension between the traditional rural industries like farming in Singapore to make way for modernization. Having Grow Vegetables Anymore in the National Gallery is one way to preserve a part of our history, and as a museum goer, it enables us to reflect and respond to how far Singapore has progressed from being a kampong to city-state, including people like the main actors shown in the painting, who have played a new role in adapting to new livelihood to progress forward as a nation. It's because of this powerful title of the artifact and how personal I felt about the painting, where I sensed a nostalgia, pain, acceptance, that I decided to write Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore as my final essay artifact. Here are the relevant concepts from class that I picked up to write my final essay for Cannot Grow Vegetables Anymore. First, I'll be discussing what I have mentioned about the painting and linking back to the concept of performing national identity, whereby the switch from rural industries to modernizations in terms of background and people can be seen as government's method of reconstructing the performance and staging the nation. Performance is a useful metaphor to describe the ways in which identities are enacted and reproduced, informing and reconstructing a sense of collectivity. It also further examines the people's relationships to spaces, and here it is the people's identity to everyday landscapes of domestic and routine life which gave form of symbolic meaning. Furthermore, I will interpret the constitutional design of the Land Acquisition Act and understand how it generates expected emotions and behaviors. The constitutional design of Land Acquisition Act has enabled the government to carry out numerous public development projects to meet the changing needs of the people and economy, which the previous Land Acquisition Ordinance did not allow them to do so at low cost. The Land Acquisition Act is designed to give assurance against fear stemming from things like loss of livelihood. It is through incorporation of paid market value compensation that helps to shift the affected citizens' mindset to accept their new role in a reconstructed performance. Lastly, I wanted to understand the society and rethink the culture, tradition, and national narratives, probably from the lenses of ordinary citizens. This will take on something similar to the reading on Admiralty National Identity and Boundaries Through National Dress in Week 9's Society lesson, and learning points I took away from Week 7's Culture and Tradition lesson. With that, I have come to the end of my sharing. Thank you.